From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
I'm Felix O'Connor, and coming up, I'm going to take you out to the East Helena, Montana Cemetery to the Never Forgotten Garden, where 4 soldiers that are unknown are laid to rest.
Last week, voters approved a park facilities bond. What that means coming up.
It is 6:30 on this Veterans Day. Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you here. Matt and I sporting flag pins presented to us by Lynn Albright from American Legion Post 14, downtown Bozeman. We'll chat with Lynn coming up in just a little bit. How you can participate in Veterans Day traditional ceremonies. 70 plus years of that ceremony.
It's pretty amazing what they do throughout the valley.
And it's going to be outdoors about 11 o'clock, so the weather, I think, is going to be dependent.
It will be, yeah. It's going to be chilly, but I don't expect to see a ton of snow. We do have snow in the forecast, but you may not see a ton of accumulating snow as we've seen in years past. Temperatures into the teens and 20s this morning. You look at futurecast and you can see some spotty snow showers around the area through the morning and early afternoon. That is mainly hanging around the mountains, but I can't rule out at least a few snow showers into the morning. I'm going to talk more about that hour-by-hour forecast coming up. Temperatures remain chilly through the afternoon. We do have a warm-up on the way. I'm going to break it all down from the weather patio coming up here in about 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:31 on this Veterans Day, Montana, remembering those who serve and those who paid the ultimate price, including the state's own group of unknown soldiers. MTN's Felix O'Connor has that story.
At the East Helena, Montana Cemetery, there in the back, you will find the Never Forget Garden, where 4 unknown soldiers are laid to rest.
This is a way to say that we appreciate that we know the sacrifice that they made. Obviously, they made the greatest sacrifice, but we as a nation and we as a community, we as an individual can honor their memory.
Veronica Bobby is the Orofino chapter regent for the Daughters of the American Revolution, an organization that prides itself in American tradition. To be a member, you must have had a grandfather who fought in the American Revolutionary War. To tie into the centennial of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the group created the Never Forget Gardens. The first in the state was in eastern Montana.
The one we dedicated was down in Pryor, Montana, at Chief Plentycoo's home.
The Never Forget Garden in East Helena holds a special place in Bobby's heart. Her grandfather, Bob Bobby, who was the commander for the VFW Post 10,010 in 1996, when the cemetery was vandalized and headstones were turned over, including
medallions that had marked the grave sites of 4 Civil War soldiers.
To find the soldiers,
so a company was hired to come in and look with ground sonar to be able to find the graves, and right over here, as you can see, is where they found the 4 grave sites.
Now with the Never Forget Garden and a dignified place to rest.
It's important that they're at rest and at peace.
6:33 now. In other local news, the smallest of the bond packages on the ballot last week was the Bozeman Facilities bond upgrade, which passed overwhelmingly by voters. TN's Edgar Cedillo takes a look at when you might see construction begin on those projects.
Last week, 70% of Bozeman voters voted for a $2.2 million bond to fix park facilities like this one. Now that the money is approved, when will you start seeing those changes? Bozeman facilities are used by thousands annually. At the swim center, around 70,000 use it per year. At Bogert Pool, around 20,000 use it annually. So making these improvements without the interference is part of the task.
Do this in a way as that will be as least impactful to the public.
So in order to minimize how much construction the public sees, most of the work will begin after the busy summer season.
Would be fall of 2022 before the public can really see improvements at these.
Right now, there's a 60-day waiting period to finalize the election before construction begins. Once those 60 days are up, then the work behind the scenes can truly begin.
We get the plan, bid, schedule the projects.
Now, with the labor shortage and skyrocketing prices for construction materials, there is some worry about staying within the budget that voters approved.
You know, it makes me a little nervous. However, of course, we have built-in contingencies to these.
Worst case scenario, if the construction does go over budget, Overton says he's prepared with backups, like a slight increase in reservation prices across these facilities, but he feels confident that these will not be necessary.
we can reduce or do slightly different to realize some cost savings to get us into the amount that was approved at the ballot for the bond.
Bozeman residents will still be able to use these facilities as normal this upcoming summer. In Bozeman, Edgar Cedillo, MTN News.
During their stay in Billings, the Drummond High School's football team's trailer got broken into. They came to Shields looking for a miracle and hoping to replace their stolen equipment. They left without paying a cent because of an act of kindness.
I don't know who would benefit from stinky high school football player gear, but somebody was interested in that.
Drummond High School's football team set off on a 600-mile trip across the state to Fairview last Thursday for a Class C playoff game, an adventure that became even more adventurous during an overnight stop at the Spring Hill Suites here in Billings.
So Saturday morning, of course, I went out and checked everything over. That's when I found that the trailer was broken into, the lock had been cut.
Dean Phillips, the school's superintendent, was shuttling the team's equipment, and he was the first to learn that 3 duffel bags filled with equipment, cleats, gloves, helmets, were gone.
Those kids wouldn't get to participate in the game on Saturday.
But the Magic City made magic happen. Phillips made one quick call to Shields explaining what had happened.
Initially, they said that it would maybe be a cost share, which I was completely fine with.
Which is why he was so surprised by what happened when he showed up at the store.
I ended up donating all of that, even to the point where 3 kids were missing shoes. They sent 6 pairs of shoes to make sure everybody had a pair of shoes that fit.
And the acts of kindness didn't stop there.
During checkout, I was just kind of standing there waiting for everything to kind of happen, and a gentleman came up to me with a gift card, and he said, "Hey, I just overheard the story. Here's a gift card that you can put towards the cause."
That gift card was worth $100, but the act itself, priceless. Residents of Montana's largest city pitching in to help a small town football team.
Just a great community.
As for the Drummond Titans, the team beat Fairview, which means its adventures aren't over yet. They can only hope their next road trip to Fort Benton is less eventful. In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
Again, it's always the right thing to do the right thing. 6:37, time for a break. When we come back,